Huh? No, I think she's still in it. I didn't ask her.
Can I ask you a question?
Are we good? Do I have to say anything about this delay? We're good? We're back? Back.
Yeah.
We're back live again. Yeah, I'll have Director Ames do it since he was. Can you just like hit, because of the stream went out? Can you kind of just hit where you had left off, like a few lines back? I think you were talking about the, the resurfacing of the, remember the. About the funding for those, if you just want to recap that.
Right.
I'm resuming.
We're back live.
So we talked about the Village Hall parking lot and the funding source for that. We are talking about various roadways that are indicated on the map as either an immediate need of repair or need of repair within the next 3 years. We also talked about the average resurfacing per block is anywhere between $150,000 and $170,000. We did mention the fact that we would ask, again, the corporate authorities and the finance team, what that budget would be set at. I know our ask will be at least $1 million. So.
For 2023?
For 2023, that's correct. The village is currently in preliminary engineering stages for Roosevelt Road streetscape, and that was funded within an Invest in Cook grant. You know, we were successful in getting the grant for the design engineer for the Roosevelt Road streetscape east of 17th Avenue, which is, as we've been talking, in desperate need. And also the 21st Street Bridge replacement. That's a village-owned bridge. Right now, I think we've got the weight limit at about 12,000 pounds, and it had to be reduced according to IDOT because of the rapid deterioration. And for the last several years, we've had an annual inspection done. And the good news is that we've got funding for both the engineering and the construction. So, and that came through the STP bridge grant. So, surface transportation. Okay. We're also completing the design of our 25th Avenue bike path, which is funded, fully funded by our TAP grant as well. So out of all the projects that I've just mentioned, we have locally funded roughly $400,000 out of our general account. So once again, we've got some streets over on the north side that are highlighted in orange that do qualify for CBGD funding. So we've actually began the application for the funding round for 2023. Hopefully we'll be successful, in which case those roads will be surfaced closer to the end of the year. The other ones we can anticipate because we've already got design engineering pretty much in hand that we could potentially go out in the spring for sealed bids and begin construction in the summer. So.
That's it?
That was the 4 questions, I believe, that was asked and answered.
Well, one, I want to thank you and your staff and your team for putting together this map of streets, and I'm sure with a little bit of past, I'm sure you could, I don't think we had this many green as we do now, correct?
That's
From
correct.
when you been in office, so when you've been in your position, am I correct?
That's correct. As a matter of fact.
So, if you want to give our two trustees a little background.
So this is what everybody's looking at. So, you can't see Mr. Gordon is kind of straining her eyes to see, can you see it? So we were talking about the color maps, and this is the presentation for the streets that have been repaved recently and the ones that are in dire need right away. So please, trustee, continue. I apologize.
That's fine. I do appreciate how you put this all together, showing what's coming up and the conditions and where we're at now and how we're moving forward. So again, obviously, and just giving us the dollar amount for each project and where we're finding ways to fund these projects. So again, want to thank you and your office over there at Public Works to look for that and be open. And again, it always takes a team effort. So that gives us more insight as trustees when things come in front of us to know what we need to be doing for our community. Other than that, Trustee Shelby, do you have any questions?
No, I have no questions. You guys have done a great job. I'm very proud of the work that you're doing.
Well, thank you, trustee.
Yes. Trustee Armour, do you have any questions?
I was curious, you know the alley that's, starts at 17th and it goes, this is on the north side of Roosevelt Road. It goes from 17th to 12th Street. There is an alley that is unpaved. I don't see it on the map, I couldn't find it, but it's unpaved, and people actually drive through this alley. It's unpaved, they get mud and everything, and they have these big holes in it, and they're trying to go around the traffic on Roosevelt Road. Do you know what alley I'm talking about, Director?
I do.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, I do.
All right, and you know what? That could be kind of dangerous, and I was just curious, what's our plan, the Public Works plan, for actually paving that? And that's the one that you need to really use your expertise on when we pave it and redirect the traffic. So what's your plan there for that piece of alley that's open like that?
To keep filling the potholes. Honestly. So that alley, okay, is a thoroughfare between the two pins, the vacant lot between 13th and 14th, and also the lot behind it. So I believe the mayor is in discussion for the development of that parcel. So that easement, that alley, could potentially be part of that development. I don't know, but the last thing that we want to do is expend several $100,000 and have to rip it back up. Couple that with the fact that there's also some discussions about ComEd burying the power lines to make that, again, one expansive parcel as opposed to,
Okay.
So.
I understand. We're going to build something there, and yeah.
That is the plan.
But people are just really violating our village by just going around all the
That's enforcement, ma'am.
They're really, it's not it's kind of frustrating to see that because, I'm the kind of person I work within the lines, and, when I see everybody doing that, especially when it's heavy traffic,
I mean, the other thing I can suggest, and I'm sure Director Ames would agree to me, he just mentioned it, that's in regards to enforcement. If you want to talk to Chief, and kind of, and just kind of tell, him, like, hey, do you think you guys can do some type of study or just watch, observe what's going on there? And like he says, into his regards, Director Ames says, if there's potholes, they're going to fill it, obviously, because you don't want issues. But I mean, as far as, if it's for a potential project, we just it's a wait and see, right? Because
Exactly.
there's so many moving parts.
Exactly.
You know.
Yes, and so thanks, Director Ames. I do think that, we are seeing some improvements in our sidewalks and our alleys, and, thank you for your area of expertise. You've been around here for a while, you know what's going on, so thank you so much.
I think I'm gonna have to.
No, thank you, trustee.
Some, I'd say a lot. I mean, if you would have seen this map,
Yeah,
a
you've
few
been around
years
here for
ago
a while.
before you got on this board,
Yeah.
and I've been sitting here, you know, he's been diligently, him and his staff and his team has been really working on this, and to see now more of the green and, you know, I mean, that's a huge improvement where we're at. How many are in the red that are left? I mean, for me to look at this and say, okay, you know, that vision is now coming true, slowly, but it's happening. So, you know, to his regard, because I'm sure, you know, he's got a very busy department over there.
And let me add that first off, nothing gets done without a working corporate authority. Okay? So we do. We appreciate the fact that what we thought were common sense projects for the last 20 years, well, with exception to 1 or 2 hiccups, we've had the support of the corporate authorities. And we appreciate that, you know, if it makes sense, and that's what we've spent our money toward, not necessarily the latest gadgets or equipment. And we are going to be asking for some dire things this upcoming budget year, like a stump grinder. Why? Because obviously the dynamics of our forestry has changed over the last 50 years. So in the spring, you guys, as a matter of fact, at the next, I'd imagine, board meeting, we got it to the mayor for legislative consideration, but we see it didn't make the agenda, which is a contract survey with Davie Tree Service. So they're going to come in and, in essence, update our tree inventory and put it on a GIS map that is accessible by anybody. So you can click into it and the tree in front of your house and see exactly the species, the diameter, the disposition, you know, so forth and so on.
Really?
Yeah.
That sounds really like automated, like
Absolutely.
21st century like.
Yeah, but the point is that we need to now focus really heavy on our forestry, because our forestry is, between the wind damage and the disease and the tree aging, you know, we need to make that a priority. So we plan to start by the tree survey, and if nothing else, like I said, ramping up our in-house removals and plantings. So,
Well, I thank you for covering that, because, you know, well, in regards to the storm that happened, and, you know, in some areas, and especially the area that I live in, which is, you know, south of Cermak Road, how many trees that were there from the time those homes were built in the 50s were uprooted because of that tremendous windstorm, uprooted from their roots and knocked across the street. So is that the aging process of that tree? So with him trying to now saying, hey, we can go around and look at this and make decisions, I mean, you know, knock on wood, there wasn't any loss of life of any trees falling on anybody. It was just them falling into the streets. But obviously it caused what? You can't move, right? If you have a fire there, and we did, it's hard for the fire department to get in when the trees are laying there. So, you know, obviously, you know, with him doing this forward thinking and doing this, we need to address that. You know, that could be a potential problem if it happened in that area and where else. So, you know, he's got his department, and you know, like I said, it's, again, I think the key thing is funding, how the village finds the funding to do these projects to make it safe, right? So.
Absolutely, and I can also see how it can be used as a preventive tool. You can look, I guess it's a camera or whatever, I don't know what kind of mechanism it is, but you can look down there and see if those roots are gonna be clogging up somebody's drains,
Sewers.
right?
well, this is more animated. And when I say that, so to your point, you click into a location, tree canopy shows up, and it brings up the recorded surveyed information. So the arborist will go out and identify the species, you know, the age, conditions, the
something.
diameter,
Yeah.
you know, whether or not it should be pruned, whether or not it should be removed, those type of things. So, but that helps us, because a lot of the complaints that we're getting is tree complaints. That's probably 50% of our work orders, okay? So absolutely, you know, and I get it, you know. So the point is that this is now a focus or a top priority. Now, as you can see, we have the streets and the alleys somewhat more managed, okay? And lastly, what I would like to report to you all is Addison Creek at Cermak Road. Why? Because I know that there's been a couple emails that's come through the mayor's office, and I was actually looking on this Next Door Neighbor app and saw some information or misinformation being put out. So folks want to know why that portion of Cermak Road and the bridge work has taken so long. It's taken so long because of a discovered conflict after the project was commissioned. Mm-hmm. So, you know, a lot of the times you can plan, you can design, you can actually know where utilities or where planned, you know, structural members are. But until you start unearthing or start demolishing, you won't have that actual information. So what they ran into was a conflict with their bridge design. Okay, they have what they call a wing wall. Mm-hmm. And that expands out into the creek and obviously supports the deck structural members above. And this ring wall was in direct conflict with our utilities. So we have sewer that runs up under the creek at that point, and we also have a water main, okay? So the water main was good, but the sewer was not. So they had to go back to the drawing board, redesign it, get the village's permission in MWRD, Metropolitan Water Reclamation District. So there's a lot of reviews that has to happen. And now as they begin to do the work, what they discovered is one of the ComEd utility poles needs to be shored up by the utility provider. Obviously, a lot of excavating and the threat of the pole tipping over and taking out, you know, all of the power in the area is real. So they've had to wait for ComEd engineers to, if nothing else, make sure that that operation was safe, sound, and scheduled properly. So
Does that also impact the budget as well when they, you know, after they open all that up and you know,
absolutely
find those problems, that has an impact on the
it
budget
does.
as well?
It does.
And so in this particular instance, how has it impacted that budget?
I have no idea because it's not our budget, thank God.
Okay, who pays for that?
IDOT.
Okay,
Yeah, it's their project.
okay.
So the rebuilding of the bridges on the state roads are their project. But that being said, we have been in communication with the engineers on site and IDOT resident engineer, and we anticipate the project to be completed by late spring, early summer. Okay? And they don't want to open up the section of Cermak that's further west, you know, as you go over Gardner Road, even though that part of the bridge is complete because of traffic flow.
Yeah.
You know, so right now they have traffic controls into place to manage the traffic, and they want to keep it there until the duration of the project.
Makes sense.
That being said, I've talked more than enough.
Good, good. Any other questions by anybody? I think it's
Thank you,
excellent
Director.
presentation. I know another item on the agenda was any public comments.
Right.
I'm not sure if anybody in the public has anything to say or ask about this meeting. Yes, ma'am?
Can we give her a microphone?
Yeah. Just state your name for.
Doreen Gordon. Attending meetings, I have heard much of this as you've set it up and, you know, over the years, and you talk about each of these things as the projects come up, so that it's nice to see it all put together in one visualization on the map, so that's really great. And I just wanted to say one cute thing about Cermak Road. Did you notice that the speed limit is 45 through the work zone, and then when you get down into Westchester, it goes to 40? So you can speed through the work zone, but not after that. Oh, yeah.
Yes.
But I figured it was something that was coming up with that, with the delay on it, so something looks good on paper doesn't mean it looks good in reality. But I think it's great, and I think that those of us that attend meetings and pay attention to what's going on here in the village, appreciate the time and effort that all of you put into this. I want to thank you, Chairman, for holding the meeting, and I want to thank you, Mr. Ames, for doing the great presentation. So thank you.
Any other questions before we adjourn? Any other comments? Are we good?
We're good.
I guess we're good. We can adjourn.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn this meeting.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, we're good, we're adjourned. Thank you, thank you. Great job.
Okay, let me